Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are getting into something really fascinating, something we all do, but very few of us actually master.
Nonverbal communication.
Exactly. And we're not just guessing here. We're looking at a 7-step system, a really precise one that's been distilled from, decades of psychological research.
We're talking about people like Paul Ekman and his work on microexpressions.
Right. And combining that with practical techniques from, say, FBI behavioral analysts. This is the real deal.
And you have to understand the scale of it. The foundation for all this is, well, it's a bit startling.
The Morebian rule.
Right. It suggests that body language and tone can account for anywhere from 70 to, believe it or not, 93% of the meaning in a conversation.
Wow. So if you're only listening to the words, you could be missing
90% of the conversation. I mean, that's where the truth is. The real emotions, the intentions, it's all in the nonverbals.
Okay, that gap is immense. So our mission today is to give you a shortcut, a framework to start decoding that hidden 90%.
But before we even get to step one, there's a principle you just can't skip. It's the absolute foundation.
This is what separates the amateur from the pro analyst.
It is. It's 3 pillars: baseline, clusters, and context.
Okay, break that down. What's a baseline?
A baseline is just knowing how someone acts normally. When they're relaxed, comfortable, do they naturally fidget? Do they avoid eye contact? That's their starting point.
So you're not judging them against some universal standard.
Never. You're judging them against themselves. Then you have clusters.
Right, the rule of 3.
Always look for 3 or more cues together. One crossed arm means nothing. A crossed arm, a clenched jaw, and feet pointed at the door. Now you have something.
And the final piece is context, the filter for everything else.
It's indispensable. You see someone with crossed arms in, say, the highlands of Ethiopia.
They're probably just cold, not defensive.
Exactly. You check the environment before you dare make an interpretation. Without context, you're just observing. With it, you're analyzing.
It's amazing how much the face gives away. Let's jump right into the fastest and maybe the hardest, tell to master. Step 1, microexpressions.
They're pure emotional leakage. These are tiny, involuntary facial movements that flash across the face in just 125th of a second.
So unbelievably fast.
So fast that the person showing them doesn't even know they did it. It's their real emotion before the conscious mask can take over. You really need training to even see them.
You're literally training your eye to catch an emotion before the person themselves is aware of it. Now, Ekman found 7 universal ones, right?
That are cross-cultural, yes.
So where should someone new to this even start? Which ones are the priority?
I'd say start with the most frequently faked emotion.
Happiness.
A fake smile. Exactly. A genuine one, a Duchenne smile, engages the muscles around the eyes. You'll see crow's feet, the cheeks raise up. If the eyes aren't smiling, it's just a social gesture.
Compliance, maybe, but not real joy.
Precisely. Then you get into things like anger-lowered brows, tight lips, or sadness, which is subtle. Look for the inner corners of the eyebrows pulling up.
But you've said before that the most analytically powerful one is contempt.
Ah, contempt. If you're in a negotiation, a meeting, any kind of social interaction, you need to be able to spot contempt.
Why is it so important?
Because it's the ultimate signal of disrespect. It shows a feeling of superiority, of disdain, and it's just a quick, one-sided mouth raise. Little smirk.
Just a flash.
Just a flash. But if you see it, you know exactly how that person feels about you or the topic. It's a massive predictor of future conflict.
Okay, so that's the face. Let's move down the body. Step 2, posture and positioning. How we take up space is, well, it's a map of our mind.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you can start simple. Open versus closed.
Uncrossed arms, palms showing. That's open. Trusting.
Right, you're accessible. Closed is the opposite.
Yeah.
Crossed arms, crossed legs, physically shrinking. It signals discomfort, defensiveness.
And we lean into what we like.
We do. Leaning forward shows interest. Leaning back, that's disinterest, or sometimes it's a dominance display. The boss with his hands behind his head.
Okay, but you told me the most honest signal of all is something most people completely miss.
The feet. Because they are so far from our conscious brain.
The feet? Come on. I mean, what if you're just uncomfortable in your chair? How can that be reliable?
It goes back to our subconscious drive. Our bodies are always preparing for the next action. And the feet. Well, the feet point where we want to go.
So if they're pointed at the door...
Their mind is already out the door, even if they're smiling at you. It's a signal of a desire to disengage.
That reframes everything. Okay, let's go to step 3. Hands and gestures. This is where authority and anxiety really show up.
Hands are where power and vulnerability meet. The steeple gesture fingertips touching to form a triangle. That's a very strong sign of confidence and authority.
And when we get nervous or anxious?
Our hands move to protect us. They block our vulnerabilities. So, touching the neck, rubbing the face, covering the mouth. These are classic stress signals.
It's like a self-soothing gesture.
It is. The neck has major arteries.
Mm.
We subconsciously protect it when we feel threatened. Same with fidgeting, clicking a pen. That's anxiety or impatience leaking out.
But hands can also show rapport, right? Mirroring.
Yes. If you're talking to someone and they subconsciously adopt your posture, maybe hold their cugs the same way you do, that's a huge, huge sign of rapport. They're on your side.
So we've gone from the face to the feet and hands. Let's zoom back in for step 4. The eyes and gaze patterns.
There's a definite sweet spot for eye contact. You want to aim for about 50 to 60% of the time. That signals confidence, honesty, interest.
And if you go over that?
If you push past 70%, it can feel aggressive, like a stare down.
Right.
And if you drop below 30%, well, that can signal shyness or discomfort or deception. But again, context is key. In Ethiopia, for example, holding intense eye contact with an elder can be seen as very disrespectful.
So you have to establish that cultural baseline first.
Right.
Okay, the classic question. What about the direction? Is it true that looking up and to the right means you're lying?
It's a useful cue, but, and this is a big but, it's only valid as part of a cluster. For a right-handed person, looking up left is often visual memory recall.
So they're remembering something they actually saw.
Correct. Looking up right can be visual construction. They're building an image in their mind, fabricating. But a good liar can control this, and a nervous, honest person might look everywhere. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Which sets us up perfectly for step 5, spotting deception, using methods from professional analysts, and it's all about incongruence.
That's the word, incongruence. The mismatch. The body is telling a different story than the mouth.
Like saying, yes, I agree, but giving a tiny little head shake.
Or a half-shoulder shrug. That half shrug is a classic tell of uncertainty or a lack of commitment to the words being said.
And analysts look for specific reactions when they ask a tough question, don't they?
They do. The first is the freeze. If you ask a pointed question and the person suddenly stops fidgeting or their whole upper body just locks up.
That's a sign of high cognitive load.
Exactly. Their brain is diverting all its energy to craft an answer, and it forgets to keep the body moving naturally.
So the absence of movement is the tell.
Sometimes, yes. And the other thing we look for is withholding. Lip compression. The lips disappearing into a thin line is a sign someone is literally biting back information.
Wow. Okay, we've built an amazing toolkit for analyzing one person. Let's broaden this to step 6, reading the room. How does this work in a group?
You look for territory and mirroring. The leader is usually the person who takes up the most space, sits at the head of the table, and critically, they're the one everyone else is subtly mirroring.
So you find the person everyone's copying.
Find that person, and you've likely found the leader.
And what about spotting other dynamics, like an outsider or maybe even a romantic interest?
The outsider is easy. They're physically angled away from the group, closed posture. For romantic interest, look for preening, fixing hair, smoothing clothes, and prolonged mutual gaze.
I love this idea you mentioned of the cafe game.
It's the best way to practice. Go to a busy place, like Tomoka Coffee, and just watch. Try to guess the relationships. Who's on a first date? Who's the boss?
And you're forced to look for clusters to make your guess.
Exactly. Which brings us to the final step. Step 7. Practice like a pro.
And you suggest starting small, like 10 minutes a day, just people watching somewhere busy like Piazza.
Just 10 minutes. Try to spot 3 cues on one person and see how they cluster together. But you also have to do something else.
It's a self-calibration.
You have to know your own tells. Record yourself talking about something stressful. Do you touch your hair? Does your voice get higher? If you don't know your own baseline, you'll project it onto others.
And the final drill is the calibration game, where you actually test your read.
But gently. You don't walk up and say, "You're lying." You guess their mood and then verify it.
Something like, "You seem really focused. Is everything okay with that project?"
Perfect. You're observing their emotional state, and their reaction before they even speak will tell you if you were right. It trains your eye to trust the cues.
This has been an incredibly structured guide, but for everyone listening, as they walk away with this new toolkit, what's the single most important caution?
The single most important thing is this. Body language gives you probabilities, never certainties.
You are not a mind reader.
You are not a mind reader. You never, ever use this to make a final judgment about someone. You use it to become more curious and ask better questions.
So what's the right way to do that? The non-confrontational way?
You use your observation to open a dialogue. A phrase like, I noticed you looked away when I mentioned the deadline. Is everything okay there?
So you address the cue, not the person's character. You invite them to explain.
You invite clarification. That's responsible application.
Perfect. And now for your learner's challenge. Start right now. Observe one person for just 2 minutes today. What are the three nonverbal cues you see, and how do they cluster? Apply the foundation: baseline, clusters, and context.
The world around you is talking constantly. You just learned how to listen to the silence.
Thank you for diving deep with us today. Go out there and start reading the world around you.